Mindy from the Weekend Gardener, and today I'm going to show you how to create a mulch garden. A mulch garden is a great alternative to a garden if you don't have a tiller, or if you don't want to break the soil up. Some people don't want to be committed that much to a garden. Also, it improves the soil's health. It allows the beneficial fungus to stay intact. So you build healthier soil, which means you will have healthier plants. The first process is you need to decide where you want your mulch bed. If you're building it in an existing flower bed, the process is the same, you just don't have to mow. But today we're actually going to do it in a yard. We're changing this into a mulch bed with blueberries. So the first thing we would need to do, we need to mow the grass down. There's no reason to bag it. Leave the clippings in the soil. They will fertilize the soil throughout this process. The next thing that you need to do is you need to place cardboard down on the ground. Now this is a great weed barrier. It will actually help hold moisture in the soil through this process. The next thing you need to do is you need to completely cover the cardboard with compost. If you don't have compost, a well-seasoned manure or potting soil will work just fine. And I'm not going to completely cover this cardboard. I'm just going to use this as a demonstration. Now, the next layer is the mulch layer, and this is the most confusing for most people. The mulch that you can use can be one of these listed items, or it can be a combination of these listed items. The goal is to create a 12-inch depth. The mulch can be hay, it can be straw, it can be grass clippings, it can be kitchen scraps, it can actually be fall leaves. Any of those combined mulches will work. But a golden rule when using a mulch is if you use a brown mulch, you need to use a green mulch to keep the carbon and nitrogen ratio where it needs to be. So if you're going to use hay, which is a brown mulch, then you need to use something green, like grass clippings. And again, like I said, that will help keep the carbon and nitrogen ratio where it needs to be. For this example, I'm actually going to use some hay. Now, hay and straw are very good sources to use for mulch, and most of the time you can get hay and straw free from farmers because they always have some that's gotten wet in their barn and they can't use it for bedding or feed for their animals. So kind of look around and see if you can find some free sources in mulch. If you are using moldy hay or straw, though, you will need to use some type of respirator. Now, you don't have to use anything this fancy. This is actually a chemical respirator. But one of these paper masks will do perfectly fine. It will just keep the mold spores out of your lungs when you're working with this process. So, when you get your hay or straw, you will notice when you take the twine off that it will actually fall into sections. These are called hands. And these hands fit perfectly for this project. So what you will need to do is you will need to take the pieces of hay and you will need to lay it out and cover your cardboard that has been covered with your compost, much like you're fitting puzzle pieces together. Now, this type of garden does much better if you do it in the fall and let it sit all the way through the winter and then plant into it in the spring. But this project can be done any time of the year that you choose to do it. When you decide that you want to plant, what you simply do is you simply move your mulch layer, and then you will move your soil layer, and you're going to cut an X where you want to plant your plant material. This process is just the same as if you were using landscape mulch or landscape cloth. So you're going to cut the X. Make sure that you close your knife for safety issues. Then what you're going to do is you're going to open the X out. You're going to pull the sides of the X up. You're going to dig your hole, plant your plant in the hole. Once that is done, you're going to close the X up. Now just leave this open for a few days This actually creates a microclimate for your plant, and your plant will shoot up in no time. Once you see that new growth occurring, cover the soil back up, put the mulch layer back on top. If you're building this type of garden around existing plants, simply cut a slit in the cardboard with a hole where you want the plant, and you open it up and slide the plant into it versus trying to thread the plant through the hole like a needle. So this has been Mindy from the Weekend Gardener. I hope you enjoyed this project, and I hope I see you in the garden again.